call to order and have roll call, please.
Bailey, absent. Lee Holloway,
Present.
John Ingleson,
Present.
Kyle Krieger,
Present.
Brenda Dehan,
Present.
Corlin Dunshee,
Here.
Jeremy Palmer,
Present.
and Warren.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item is the approval of minutes from the last meeting, which was on August 15, 2018. Have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Have a second? Second. You have a second. The minutes from last meeting is approved. Moving on, item 2 is consideration of public comments. Those wishing to address the Parks, Aquatics, Recreation, and Golf Commission need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time pursuant to ARS 38-431. Any public comments?
I think does anybody sign up?
This is the consideration of public comments. So
Yeah, this is your opportunity if you wish to speak.
There you go. Come on up. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself as well.
Yeah. My name is Mike Piscatelli. I'm at 3835 Legacy Drive, Kingman. Been a resident there for 12 years. Council members, I appreciate this opportunity to share my one concern. I'd like to address the recently built dog park on Willow across from Legacy Park. I think the dog park is a great idea to allow dogs to run unleashed. I have one concern, and that is the choice of the bark or tree clippings that were laid down.
Did we show this to the council members?
As shown here. We brought samples of clippings that are currently used in the dog park area, and we brought samples that you're using in the
All right.
play area for the children, and you can see a big difference between the two. As shown here, I don't know if anyone on this panel has inspected the material used to cover the ground, which is 10 to 12 inches thick. This material is very sharp and could cause damage to pets' paws by punctures and splinters. A human could not walk on this material barefooted without a lot of discomfort. So I asked, how do you expect pets to walk on this material? I've also brought a sample of bark chips used in the play area for the children's playground. And you'll notice that there is a big difference between the feel of each product. The materials are night and day. And the slogan can be, if you can't do it right to begin with, we shouldn't really do it at all. I had the opportunity today to go to the dog hospital there. It's a Bunch Servant Dog Hospital there on Stockton Hill Road. And I had an opportunity to talk with 4 of the staff members, and I brought in these 2 samples in those 2 buckets. The one that I was concerned about, where it's got sticks and splinters about this long. And I showed them, and they were quite concerned. I said, would you recommend this for a dog park? And they said, no. They told me why, and they told me it could add to punctures, slivers. Also, dogs end up eating this type of material. When you have small sticks, they'll take them and they'll run them out and they'll chomp on them and whatnot. So anyway, I know you probably got this material free but sometimes free isn't best used for this type of a purpose. It'll be good on banks or if you're doing landscaping and nobody's going to be walking on it. But when you walk on it, it's really bad. So I'm finding neighbors in our neighborhood have taken the dogs down before they put the padlock on the fence. In one trip, they came back and said, I'm not taking my dog back. So I've heard that now from 4 neighbors, not including these 2. So I won't take my dog there. And I think most other people won't either until it's more conducive to running around with the dog's natural activity. And I think if it's not corrected and made where dogs can do their deal, I think people are going to probably go across the street where you don't want them on the lawn area so they can run. But I think your idea was great, and I really appreciate the effort you guys have put in. And the Parks and Recreation, I think, is doing a fantastic job of maintenance and keeping everything up. But I really think the selection of this is really rough bark material. And there's pine cones in there, and there's stickers, and it's terrible. And so I hope all of you, ladies and gentlemen, had an opportunity of looking at it. And if you put your hand in there, you can just imagine what that's going to feel like on an animal. So, you want to address something else?
Just the fact that dirt would be better. I know that they may not have the funds to do anything else, but they could take that out of there and just rake it once a month or something and just have dirt. It makes better sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
I'll put the bark back. I don't want to.
Okay.
Mike, you got a chance to look at it? Okay. All right. Where the bark go? Oh, there it is. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take that under advisement. Any other?
First, wanted to talk about the Sun Belt Sports Complex. Wait till then, or do you want us to all go now?
You can address now. Can the public talk about during then? Okay, we'll wait then. Okay. Any other? So everybody's here for Sunbelt. Okay, if we don't have any other public comments, we'll move on. And item 3 is reports. Starting off with the introduction of our new members. I suppose we could introduce everybody since the new members probably don't know who's already here. I want to start on the side over here.
Hi, my name is John Ingles. I live at Israel Avenue.
Okay. Good to have you.
I'm Carla Denchi. I'm from the Legacy Subdivision and been a citizen of Kingman area since 1976.
Kyle Krieger. I live up in Wellpine Shadows. Been in Kingman for about 8 years.
Jeremy Palmer, and this is my second term as commissioner. Live in the Fairgrounds area, Kingman.
My name is Iris Holloway. I live over in the Legacy Subdivision. We've been in Kingman now for 3 years, and I am the new council member.
Brenda DeHaan. I've lived in Kingman for 30-some years. Have served on the commission for, I think, 2 terms.
Okay. Actually, we have a couple other changes here. With recognition of Trevor Batt, an expired term commissioner, of member Larry Carver, we have the 2 new members, John and Otis, and then PGA professional Greg Prudham, and interim park superintendent Jerry Sipe. All right, moving on. B is open meeting laws and parliamentary procedures.
Pardon me, but what was the new council liaison, Sue Ann Mello-Keener? Oh, okay. Is she like, okay, I see.
All right, good evening, Commission. My name is Sydney Mealy. I'm the City Clerk here in Kingman. I'm here to give you your open meeting law and parliamentary procedure presentation for the year. We do this annually as just part of your ongoing training to keep you guys fresh on open meeting law, as well as to let you know of any updates that come along. So if you've been through this presentation, there are a couple of small updates that I'll be going over I do want to remind everybody with the new format in this room, please make sure you turn on your microphones and speak directly into them. I heard some comments that people couldn't hear you out in the audience. You don't have to leave them on, but if you choose to turn it off, please remember to turn it on before you speak. All right, so open meeting law is set by the state. It's part of our state statutes that everyone has to follow from the legislature on down. It is the public policy of the state that meetings of public bodies be conducted openly and that notices and agendas be provided for such meetings which contain information as is reasonably necessary to inform the public on matters to be discussed, considered, or decided. To this end, any person charged with interpretation of this law shall construe any provision of it in favor of open and public meetings. And all meetings of any public body shall be open meetings, and anyone desiring to attend shall be permitted to attend and listen to the deliberations and proceedings. Basically, this means that the public's business must be conducted in public. So why does this matter? It protects the public and preserves the right to participate in government, and it protects you as public officials and maintains the integrity of government, hopefully ensuring a better informed citizenry and building trust between the government and its citizenry. So who has to comply with open meeting law? You do. Public body is defined as the legislature, all boards and commissions of the state, or any political subdivision, and all standing, special, or advisory committees or subcommittees of or appointed by the public body. So with the state of Kingman being a subset of the state of Arizona, you do qualify under that. This does include our quasi-judicial bodies, including the Board of Adjustments and Building Board of Appeals, and it also applies to subcommittees. So if you wanted to create a subcommittee to discuss something happening at the golf course, and 3 of you wanted to create a subcommittee, you still have to post agendas and take minutes, and the City of Kingman does not provide the personnel to do that for you. So a meeting is defined as the gathering in person or through technological devices of a quorum of the members of the public body by which they discuss, propose, or take any action, including deliberations, by a quorum. And a quorum is simply a majority of the members of a board or commission. Although one of our commissions are 7 members, so quorum is going to be 4. And vacant positions do not reduce this requirement for you. Technological devices include, but are not limited to, emails, websites, blogs, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, Pinterest, text messages, or any other similar technology. This was just beefed up by the state, so if you've been through this presentation before, the state is really starting to pay attention to things like Twitter and Facebook, including comments on like the Daily Miners Facebook. So if you jumped on there and made comments on something about the commission, you just have to be careful about who is commenting and who can see what. Clearly, we are not the thought police, neither is the state, but you do always want to be aware of the perception of any impropriety. And with emails, you'll notice that Mike does a really great job of putting a line in your emails. Please do not reply all. That's for a reason. As soon as you reply all, you create a meeting. So please do not do that. We understand that accidents happen, and we understand that a lot of times, especially with our new commissioners, they're trying to make sure they're communicating with everybody, and hey, I've got this question, maybe others do too. You have that question, great. Ask it directly to Mike in an email, on the phone, whatever it may be, and let him send that information out to the rest of the commission. Please do not do that, because that's where we get into a lot of trouble. You can also create a meeting by splintering the quorum. So that's where 2 of you happen to meet up at Starbucks or a community event, and you say, hey, we should be talking about blah, 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 blah. And then you each decide, hey, that's a great idea. Let's go talk to a couple other people and see if we can get some momentum behind this. You just created the meeting. So even though all 4 of you weren't there together having that discussion, the fact that you had a chain discussion among 4 of you, it doesn't get you out of the open meeting law, so please just be aware of things like that. If you have one of those great ideas, please send it to Mike and ask him to put it on the agenda for you guys to discuss. Meetings cannot take place with less than 24 hours advance notice to each member of the commission and to the public. And agendas have to include some very specific information that outlines exactly what you can and cannot do during the meeting. The agenda must list specific items to be discussed, considered, or decided, and again, must contain information as is reasonably necessary to inform the public on what you're going to be talking about. Golf course is not enough of an agenda item. You have to say specifically what you're talking about with the golf course. And other matters can be discussed, but they must be related directly to that. So if you guys are talking about parks fees and say, hey, what about golf course fees? That's something that is pretty well related, and you can broaden that just a little bit. If you start getting more onto the golf course discussion versus general parks discussion, that's where Mike's going to be going in. Time out. Let's add that to the next agenda. Only items specifically listed on the agenda can be discussed. If it's not on the agenda, please do not discuss it. If something does come up that's not listed on the agenda, the best practice and the one to keep everybody out of the most trouble is to ask staff to put that on an agenda for the future so that you can discuss it. And any action taken on an item not properly noticed on the agenda is null and void. Call to the public, which you all just had, is an item that can be listed on the agenda, which allows people to come and address you on anything under your purview. This is not required by state statute, and you may impose a reasonable time limit on speakers. We do have a timing system, and you are welcome to use it. The standard that the City Council uses, and most of our commissions have adopted, is 3 minutes. As a commission, you have 4 options during the call to the public. You can respond to criticism after the close of the call to the public. Doesn't happen as much as at our commission level, but it happens from time to time. You can ask staff to review an item. You can ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda so that you can discuss it, or you can sit in silence. You certainly don't have to say anything. If somebody comes up and wants to start having a conversation with you about what's going on at the golf course or one of the parks, you can't get into that discussion with them. Say, hey, I'll buy you a cup of coffee another day, but we can't have that here. And call to the public is only permitted if it is specifically listed on the agenda. So if you guys have a special meeting for something and don't have call to the public on there, no call to the public can happen. The public does have a right to attend, listen, tape record, and videotape your meetings. They do not have the right to speak or disrupt. And violations, I get a lot of feedback that this is the most intimidating part, and people don't like me presenting this part, but we do want to let you guys know what can happen if you intentionally violate open meeting law, and it is a $500 fine for each violation, and you can also be removed from your seat on the commission. When I say each violation, I like to use splintering the quorum as an example. That's $500 per person that participated in that discussion, and $500 per time that you did it and per item that you discussed. So you can see that it adds up very quickly. We don't tell you that to intimidate you or to try and get you guys to not talk to anybody. We just want you guys to be aware of the penalties if you intentionally violate the open meeting law. And these sanctions can be enforced against not only yourselves, but anyone who aids you in violation of the open meeting law. So you can't say, hey, you know so-and-so, can you pass this message to them that doesn't excuse you from open meeting law, that brings them into it. We typically don't have very much conflict of interest with our commissions, but we do like to cover it just in case there are any questions. It is illegal to declare conflict of interest under Arizona state law and to even participate in the discussion on any items where contracts or other conflicts exist. This does cover both public officers and employees of incorporated cities and towns, as well as their relatives. In general, this is going to happen when someone is involved in a substantial ownership or salaried employment with a private corporation that intends to do business with the City of Kingman. Those businesses can do business with the City of Kingman, but only after public competitive bidding. And remote interests are ones that are so minor they do not constitute an illegal conflict. So if you are friends with somebody, happen to know them, your kids play soccer together, that is not a conflict of interest. It's somebody who's directly related to you or in which your vote could cause them to gain some sort of benefit. And if you have any questions on open meeting law or conflict of interest, you can always contact myself or the City Attorney's Office. So any questions on that? Trying to get through this as quick as I can because I know you guys have a big night. Any questions on any of that?
No.
And then we pull up parliamentary procedure, and we will breeze through it as quick as we can.
She must be pulling this.
I know, but I want.
Okay, so parliamentary procedure. Parliamentary procedure is just a set of rules to help you conduct your meetings. They help make sure everybody is heard and eliminate as much confusion as possible. This is the typical order of all of our meetings from the City Council on down. You may or may not see all of these on any given agenda. Sometimes they appear, sometimes they don't. So just be aware of what you might be looking at. Motion is simply how you present a proposal for the rest of the members to take action on. This is how you express your voice. Typically what you are going to be dealing with is called a main motion. So just I move that we approve, ... and then somebody will second it. Life of a motion is pretty simple. Somebody makes a motion, somebody seconds it. If there's any further debate on the item, you debate it, and then there is a vote. Motions are presented by obtaining the floor, get your chairperson's attention, and then state your motion as clearly and concisely as possible. Rather than saying, I move that we don't, say, I move that we deny. Things like that to keep it very concise and in a clear order that the rest of the people watching are going to understand. Then you wait for someone to second your motion. If there is no motion, or second, the motion is lost. If there is a second, the chairperson restates the motion and then opens the matter up for debate. You can expand your motion if you choose to through the debate. Things come to light and you kind of changes your mind, say, okay, well, I want to expand this a little bit. You can do that, but for commissions, what I always recommend is that you withdraw the motion, carry on the conversation, make sure you guys get a good idea of what you're going to want, and then restate clear motion. That way, everybody understands exactly what's going on. Most often what you guys are going to do is vote by voice. So your chairperson will say all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. You can do a roll call vote, and that's where Sierra will call each one of you by name and you clearly state what your vote is. Most likely this is only going to be used in really contentious situations where the public really wants to understand exactly how each of you voted. Again, it doesn't come up too often with our commissions, but we like to let you know that that's an option for you. You can also use a motion to table. If you don't feel an item's quite ready for you guys to make a determination on, use that motion to table, send it back to staff. And let your staff guide you on how quickly that can be turned around. I mean, if you guys are wanting to recommend doing a study or something like that, that's obviously going to take a little bit more time than just amending a report. So follow your staff's direction on that. And then you can also make a motion to postpone indefinitely. You guys have hashed a matter to death. No decision's going to be made. You can use that motion to postpone indefinitely, and that removes it from any further consideration. So again, this is the best way to get things done in your meetings, but it only works if it's used properly. Allow motions that are in order, have members obtain the floor properly, speak clearly and concisely for both your fellow members and for the public, and obey the rules of debate. Most importantly, be curious. And do you have any questions? All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney.
Okay, next item is the annual nomination of our chair and vice chair for the commission. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jeremy Palmer as our new chairman.
I'll second it.
Okay. Go to a vote. All those in, are you okay with it, Jeremy?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be okay with that.
All right. All those in favor of Jeremy Palmer being our new chairman, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you want to mention what you mentioned to me before?
I would like to make a motion to no. I can't remember her name.
Brenda. And I will decline. I am actually going to have to resign from the commission as I'm moving out of Kingman.
Okay.
And so we only have 2 other individuals. Would you mind if I nominated you to be co-chair of the commission?
You have a motion?
I would like to know his name again.
John.
John. I would like to nominate John to be co-chair of the commission.
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Do we need to move right now? Okay. I'll switch spots with you.
And I'll switch with you.
Congratulations, Jeremy and Jen. Thank you, Mike.
I have your thingy now.
I got it here too.
Yeah. Now that we just played musical chairs, we're all set. We'll move on to the Recreation Superintendent's report.
Hello. I'm sure most of you have the notes and stuff to follow along, but just to recap a little bit on our fitness and dance. Our dance classes continue to move through their season. We actually have our end of the season dance recital this Saturday, where I'm sure I'll see Mr. Palmer there. The summer classes will begin June 3rd, and we have 13 different dance camps to offer this summer, and then our fall program will begin on August 5th. Fitness classes still continue to move a little on the slow side, but they're self-sustaining. We will lose one of our instructors toward the end of June. She's taken off to the Navy, so we will no longer have our Zumba instructor. On the child supervision end of things, we're in the process of preparing for our Summer Fun Days Day Camp. Summer employment recruitment has been taking place. We've completed most, if not all, of the interviews, but they're still going through the hiring process to bring them all on board. The summer lunch program is under review for the Fantastic program, which actually I think I finally got that finalized today just before I left, and as well as the Kingman Unified providing lunches for the Summer Fun Days Camp at Palo Christi. Camp is all set with trips and supplies have all been purchased. Weekly calendars are being developed, and as I mentioned earlier, the staff will hopefully all be processed by the time of training day on May 30th. On the trips and tours ends of things, we took a trip to Phoenix on the weekend of March 23rd and 24th. We had stops at Cirque du Soleil, Berlin's Dinner, and entertainment show, the Lake Pleasant Boat Cruise. We had a lot of positive reviews from those who attended. We had a trip set to Utah for the Tuacahn Amphitheater, river rafting, a train ride through Heber Valley, and a visit to Zion National Park on the weekend of June 28th through 30th. Most of our trips, well, all of our trips are open to everyone, but most are highly attended by the senior clientele, as we kind of heard from many of them that if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be able to explore some of these sites as they are aging in years and look forward to some of the quality of life activities that we can provide for them. On the sports end, youth basketball completed in March. The youth and adult basketball programs did have a slight delay due to the Snowmageddon, is that how it was? We didn't meet, obviously, in February for that same purpose, but we were able to extend our adult volleyball league, adult basketball league for the season to get them through the finals. Youth basketball, we had to cut short by one weekend because we didn't have a facility. And on the spring co-ed volleyball season, we had to cancel that due to lack of registrations. We fell a little bit short. It was hard because, again, we don't have our own gym facility, so we have to utilize and depend on the schools. Our volleyball program has always been, well, hasn't always, but up to a few years ago, we moved it to White Cliffs. It's been the most accommodating, the easiest to facilitate for our such program that we have. And with the program there, they underwent a flood in November, I think it was, October, November, and the gym floor was completely destroyed, which caused us to push our fall league out to other locations. We were relocating every day, different days of the week, whatever school would be willing to take us, which on our end looks a little bit disorganized because we don't know where we're going until somebody says, oh yeah, you can use our gym. Well, we didn't want to start our spring volleyball season that way because their gym floor was not ready to go by the time the start of our season was, and we kept pushing it back and kept pushing it back. So with all of that delay, we just made a decision to cancel the spring season instead of trying to run a dysfunctional program. Let's see. All of our summer day camp, or excuse me, summer sports camps are now taking registrations. We have an agreement with the International Soccer Program again. They come in every year and offer an international soccer camp, and they offered a pre-registration or early registration with a discount, and they did that back in January, I believe it was, and they took 20 registrations on the day that they offered that discounted rate. On the aquatic ends of things, we did lose one of our pole canopies during the snowstorm. It totally destroyed and damaged our structure, which we're looking at replacing and rebuilding, I believe. And you guys should have a picture, I believe was included in your notes there. The pool will open on Memorial Day, which is May 27th. Lifeguard classes have been held. We had our first one in April, and we're looking at doing another one at the end of this month. Students who have passed the current testing and process that we just offered are now eligible to become employees of the City of Kingman if they apply and go through the interview process successfully. Both pools will open at the same time, and again, that is provided we have enough lifeguards and employees to open both facilities. On our special events, we did have a video game tournament that was set to take place on March 23rd. We had to cancel due to lack of enrollment. Our Venture Club, we worked with the Venture Club of Kingman to help take over our annual Easter egg hunt at Centennial Park. After 1 year of giving it a try, they declined to do it again in the future. Our annual breakfast with the Bunny was held on Saturday, April 20th from 8 to 10 at Golden Corral. And as usual, that one program runs very smooth with very little complaints or issues, and everybody there, we got several compliments from the people in attendance. We did have our first drive-in movie scheduled for the year was on April 12th, but due to weather, as you all know, we live in Kingman, and if the wind blows, we'll have this big, huge white kite flying through the air if we try to put up a screen. So we had to postpone it until April 19th. We did show Bumblebee. Part of the rescheduling process does cause a little bit of attendance issues. The last few movies we've had, we've been very successful with overcrowding, where we have to turn cars away because we can't let them in. This one event, we filled about half of our parking lot that we do it in. Under some miscellaneous notes, our department operated as a Red Cross facility for the storm that took place in February. We opened up the community center and worked in conjunction with the Red Cross. Parks Department did a wonderful job in getting the parking lot cleared out in case of bypassers or travelers that needed a place to stay. The unfortunate part is we did only facilitate one person, and the Red Cross requires that 10 people must be in the shelter in order for it to remain open. They did close at 9:30, and by noon they had like 6 or 7 people that were already there looking for shelter because the local shelters here in town had no place to facilitate them. But we were already closed at that time. Let's see, and other than that, we're working with our Human Resources Department, still try to get everyone finished and brought on board for this summer. Our pool's open. We have training and orientation the 24th and the 25th, and rest of our summer programs begin the first week of June 3rd. So we're running, just trying to get everybody references and background checks and everything processed. Other than that, I think that's about it, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Any questions? I do have one question, just to follow up on the call to public previous meeting, 2 meetings ago, I guess, before the canceled. Regarding extending the pool season into September. Did anything kind of come up with that discussion? that
The only issue that we still have, it's employees.
Okay.
We have a 90-day season. It's a 90-day calendar season. So we cannot employ people for more than 90 days.
Okay.
And with the 90 days and us getting everybody trained, like I said, so we open up on May 24th. That's their first day of training. So when 90 days from May 24th, they have to be terminated. So we can't really extend that. I think the termination date was like August 21st, 22nd, something like that.
Okay.
So we can't go really beyond that.
I just want to make sure we asked that you guys looked into it.
Yeah, we did. Our Human Resources Department isn't going to change that. The only other way to change it is if we have year-round employees, which then even at a year-round employee, if you carry all part-timers, they can't work more than 19 hours a week.
Okay.
So that's the hard part. That's where we're stuck. There's just certain guidelines between ASRS, which is Arizona State Retirement, and the other guidelines that fall into place without you having or providing them benefits if they work above a certain amount of hours.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I could chime in a little bit there too. If we were able to hire part-time people, that would be able, but part of the problem is with the schools are on two different schedules. When they go back to school, one school will go back and we'll lose several lifeguards, and then the other school will go back, we'll lose several more lifeguards, and the kids go to college. That some of our lifeguards are college kids, so and we're not the only city and state that has problems with this. A lot of the cities are having challenges with that. Some have gone to trying to find older people that would like to be lifeguards and work part-time maybe, and if we could do that and get enough of them, we would be able to possibly look at extending the season some. But
Okay.
it's, we've tried to find them and we advertise to it and stuff, and just we don't get the interest. So
We do put it out looking for part-time lifeguards, not just seasonal, and nobody applied. If we do, we get one to two a season, and that's it. We can't operate a pool with two lifeguards.
Sure.
So it's difficult, and I miss the days when we would open Memorial Day and close Labor Day. That was how we operated for many years until certain laws and things changed that prevented us from doing that. And we would remain open on the weekends, not necessarily during the week, or you open during the week and go from like 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 or something like that. So you just had the later, afternoon hours to early evening hours available for them, because we understand it's hot still in August, but to be honest, August is our slowest month of the year for attendance. Even if the kids are still out of school, we just don't get them. There's not enough for us to even open, and we're paying manpower to be there, and there's 5 kids in the pool.
That's a good reason too, right there.
It is. It's tough. It's hard to justify paying 15 people to be there for 5 kids in the pool, and we usually have to close it and send them home.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the golf course report.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Friend. I'm the Assistant Golf Course Superintendent at Surbat Cliffs, and I'm here to give you a brief update of what's going on over there. I'm going to start with our greens. Recently we put 2 applications of a herbicide down. We have a very invasive weed that's infiltrating the greens right now. We put it down at really, really super low rates, as you can imagine, because we don't want to hurt the bent grass itself. So we go out and do this several times. I try to do 2 to 3 apps every month and a half to 2 months, if possible, and that helps knock that out. We're seeing really good results with that. So we've done 3 apps to date since the beginning of the year. Primo Proxy, which is also an herbicide, and it's directed specifically at POA. What happens with POA is it gets seed head on it, it spreads on its own, it grows at very low heights, and it also, it'll make the green be really super bumpy when you're trying to roll a golf ball across it. So we try to get ahead of that before it pops up. We've also put an application of 0050, which is sulfate of potash, and that is essentially for root health and for soil conditioning to keep the greens healthy. On our fairways, we've put an application out recently of manganese sulfate, ammonium sulfate, ferrous sulfate, and a soil conditioner. This really just helps us get started in the spring, gets the turf moving, One thing that's not listed that we kind of do along with this is we also spike them. Recently we got a new spiker, and it works really, really well. Helps open it up, get the air, the nutrients, the water in, and allows the CO2 gases to come out. The best part about it, you can't even tell it was there. So golfers are super excited about that. Moving on to irrigation, we've had 2 major mainline leaks. I don't know if you guys know or not, but most of the piping in the course is older than I am, it seems. So I know when I came on board, they were having quite a few more, some different conditions. And both of these, we had an old saddle blow off. It's a brass saddle. It actually got to the point where the bolts that hold it together are actually corroded away. Luckily, there wasn't a huge water loss. It happened during the day rather than at night, so we were able to control that. So one of the things that we've instituted is if we have that, we try to go 20 foot one way, 20 foot the other way with new pipe, because we're already there. So eventually, at a low cost at a time, hopefully we can upgrade the system as we go. We also had an electric valve failure on number 9. That's pretty common too. They're relatively old. So we did the same thing while we were there. We went ahead and put a 20-foot stick of pipe in to update it while we're there. So. As far as our tees, we added 3 additional sprinklers down the middle of number 9 tee box. It only had sprinklers from the outside throwing in. The coverage wasn't real great, so we just added some additional irrigation. And what that does is allow us to not overwater the edges so heavy trying to get to the middle, and it actually reduces water overall. It's also not listed, but we also leveled a couple tee boxes. We leveled 14 silver and 17 black, so we got that done over the winter as well. Bunkers, we got through 1, 2, and 3. We got them all edged back to their original shape, added some new sand into them. And you'll see it in my miscellaneous notes. We were cut short with inmate labor, so that's part of the reason that we weren't able to finish that project. So, cart pass, we had a new extension on the right-hand side of number 1 green and also number 3 green. Our hope of this, currently the golfers have a tendency to pull up right in the middle of the approach, walk up, putt, come back, turn their wheels, tearing the turf, and drive. So our concept behind this is to add the concrete and hopefully get them to where they need to be and approach the green from the side while parking on the concrete. Then we took out a couple of old sections of concrete around those greens, leading them to that, resodded the area. Looks real good. Clubhouse. Over the winter, I shouldn't say the winter, but since January, we were able to get the whole interior repainted. We hung up Mike's flag collection, which looks real nice. We did some exterior painting in areas that really needed to be touched up. All the signage was redone as far as touching up with paint, making those look better, including our front sign all the way up by the street. And we also redid the landscaping up front. I added some castle block, some red colored rock, just kind of trimmed up all the old dead stuff. As far as the golf crew, herbicide applications for weeds, that's a constant for us, along with gopher removal, trying to keep up with them, trying to keep the mounds down and keep the population down. We concentrated mainly along the fence that runs along I-40 because it's very unsightly to people driving by. Obviously, that's our billboard. That's our biggest seller is the people seeing that. And then all the property boundaries were hit over the winter. The maintenance mechanics were able to service all of our fleet carts. They are gas carts, so they have to have oil changes and gas filter changes and such, so they were able to get through all 70 of those, and we have 6 maintenance carts they got through, and then also all of our mowing equipment. And since then, the golf crew's just been busy mowing. We're growing like crazy right now, so they're out there mowing. So under some miscellaneous notes, one of the things that was kind of inconvenient at the time, but turned out pretty well, is Unisource Electric They're building new houses up above number 4, decided that they weren't going to have enough power to supply all those homes had they built out, so they came down the utility easement between the houses, number 4, through our walkway, and then all the way down hole 7. So what that did is that lane goes from 3 green to 4 green. We had to close that down. We weren't allowed to put anybody through there, for the golfer safety and for unit forces safety. So we were able to reroute the golf course. Mike had an old one from years ago, and for the most part, I would say that everybody genuinely liked it. Everybody started on 16 instead of 1, and 16, 17, 18, it was 1, 2, 3, and so it flowed real nice. And like I said, it's something that we may look at in the future. I'd like to welcome Greg Prudham, who's our head golf professional, since we've taken over the pro shop. He's come on board. We've also hired Jacob Griffin, who's not in attendance. He's our new pro shop attendant. And Doug Troxel, who is also not in attendance, is our new card attendant. Let's see, February, we all know February. We actually received 2.41 inches on our rain gauge at the maintenance facility and roughly 16 inches of snow. Our only major loss on the golf course other than revenue was a big tree on hole 3. We had some minor damage, but nothing ever developed as far as snow molds or anything of that nature. Everything drained off fairly well. So there was nothing major there. And then March only brought us about a total of ½ inch of rain. So we got it all when we didn't need it, just like normal. Moving on, winter projects were all wrapped up a bit early due to the city losing inmates. There was a mishap that happened, and the city of Kingman lost all of our inmate labor. Part of the reason that the bunker project was cut short, some of the cart path extensions were cut short. We really, on the golf course, and I know in parks as well, really rely on that inmate labor. It has been reinstated, and at the time, 2 of our inmates were getting out anyway. So, if it was going to happen, that's probably about the best time. There is no real good time, but at least it was when we knew 2 we were losing 2 of them anyway. We normally have 3. We've gained 2 back. We were able to get them trained in the last few weeks. So, since the last report, we've utilized 686 hours of inmate labor. And that number is down from roughly 2,000. So that gives you an idea of how many hours we've really truly lost. And that is just since we were supposed to have the last meeting. We only had 1 major incident. Somebody tried to drive a golf cart across 9 green. It wasn't any real major damage. We were able to fix most of it with divot repair tools and with our roller and get it all rolled out. And that's about all I have, unless you guys have questions.
Just to remind the commission members to press the button when you press into the microphone.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Next up is the Golf Pro report.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome Greg, who started with us, what was the exact
5 weeks
date?
ago.
5 weeks ago, April 8th, and really enjoy having him so far, doing a great job, and he's a great addition to our staff, so we're really pleased. We got a good crew in there in the pro shop, and Greg's doing a great job with them, so.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening. Just touch on a few things. I've been with the golf course now for 5 weeks. There's been a number of things that have been in place since the city took over operation of the golf course. Some promotions that have been utilized since close to the first of the year and ongoing since then. Our Military Appreciation Day, which is done on Wednesdays, and our Education Appreciation Day, which is done on Fridays. We'd certainly like to see a better turnout for those, but it is increasing as we go along, and the program gets to be a bit more known. We also had a lunch and loop program, which has not been very successful, but it is an ideal program for those that just want to get out and play 3 holes of golf and have lunch for a very inexpensive rate. I would like to see more people take advantage of that as well. It's a great opportunity just to get out for a short period during the day if you've got some time. Obviously, Mother Nature has not been very kind to most of the country, but hasn't been very kind to us here for the first part of the year. February certainly took a hit as far as the total rounds of play and total revenue for the golf course. Approximately 11 days that were unusable essentially at the golf course. So that put us in a bit of a bind early in the year, but things are growing and getting better as we move along so far through this part of May. County League restarted their program at the end of April, the 25th of April. This is now this week will be their 4th week, and they're growing in numbers each week. We had 24 last week. Expect that to be a little bit more this week. We restarted the City League, which took a hiatus for a little while, and started that back up, which began on May 8th. Tonight is actually the second night of the league, and we've been having roughly 15 people at this point for the first 2 events, so hopefully that's going to grow. We're looking at potentially changing that to a different night during the week because many of the departments within the city have gone to the 4/10s as far as the work week goes, and so if we potentially move that to Friday evening, that could generate a much greater turnout for us on that. So we're looking at doing that right now. We are working with the airport businesses at the industrial park and trying to create a league among the businesses that are out there. A couple thousand employees that they have there. Be a great opportunity for us to bring in some additional play, 1 weeknight per week, or perhaps every other week. But we're getting some response from the plant managers and business managers out there, and that's looking positive. Hopefully we'll get something started with them here shortly. Our junior golf program for 2019 is going to begin on June the 5th and going to run through about the 3rd week of July. Looking through another great turnout or great program with that this year. Typically have 100 plus kids that participate in that each year, and looking for that to continue and hopefully grow. We're trying to bring new golfers into the game, not specifically the ones that have continued to be a part of the program. We want them to continue, but we're looking to bring new players into the game as well. I'm doing a free adult clinic on the 28th of this month, also to hopefully bring some new players into the game as well. So that'll be an evening clinic on a Tuesday evening, looking to generate some additional play from that. And this past week, in celebration of the Mother's Day, we had a Mother's Day promotion that we did, and we had about 10 ladies take advantage of that, so we were excited about that. That was somewhat of a last-minute promotion, but we got that on the board and had decent participation for it. So that's all I have to report on at this point. Does anybody have any questions?
Some questions about the promotions. I think that's a great idea. How are we pushing those promotions out to the public so they're aware of it?
Primarily, our advertising right now has been through Facebook and through both the golf course site and through the Parks and Rec site. We do have a couple of flyers that have been put around as well, but I think we can get better in that aspect of it. I mean, social media is a great opportunity to market and at no cost, essentially. So spreading that word and getting that out there.
I saw that there was something about planning other regular promotions too. What did you have in the works for that?
Really trying to grow the game, and that's starting with that adult clinic that I'm going to offer later this month as a free clinic. Hopefully we'll get. It's going to be myself teaching the clinic this time. I'm going to bring Haley Bradley, who is our assistant golf professional, on board as well. That we could take a larger size group, but I'm hoping for 15 people this first time, and then if we can grow that beyond that, I'd love to do it that way. But that will help to hopefully get people that are both coming out to take more lessons, but that's going to snowball into them purchasing equipment and then getting out on the golf course.
To attract some of the new golfers that maybe don't have lunches off, whatever, you had the lunch.
The lunch and loop.
Yeah, I think that's great, but do you have maybe something in the works for like maybe a 9-hole regular type thing that?
We do have a daily 9-hole rate available, and that's available any time of the day.
Okay.
So that is available, and we do get a very substantial number that just come out to play 9 holes.
Okay.
just about every day of the week. And then our leagues that we're trying to generate as well are 9-hole leagues that start at 4 o'clock in the evening. So we're working on growing that as well. Hopefully going to get a good response from the airport businesses, and I think that's potentially going to be something that could generate some rounds and substantial rounds in revenues for us.
Thanks. Any more questions?
No. Thank you very much.
I have a comment. I just wanted to compliment the new management and on both the pro shop side and the superintendent side. The golf course probably looks the best I've ever seen it. I've only been here 5 years, but it's looking very good, and I want to compliment you on that, and I hope that we can continue to grow on that and keep fixing some things and making it better and better.
We're getting great feedback from the golfers about the condition of the golf course, and that's
I heard the mowers are real tired.
Thanks to Pat and his crew and Mike for everything that they've done for getting the golf course where it is. Thank you.
That's really great to hear. Yeah.
We are talking, too, about having other additional specials like in the evening, or late afternoon and the early evening, different kinds of specials. So, we're talking about that. Matter of fact, we're going to airify the greens following the Scheffler tournament this Sunday. We start on them following that tournament on Sunday afternoon, and so the greens will be a little bumpy for a couple of days. And so we're looking at possibly having like a bumpy green special after 10 o'clock in the morning and things like that, just to get people out there and give them an opportunity. So these guys are doing a great job, and so happy to have both of them, and their teams are excellent. So thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the interim park superintendent report.
Good evening, all. I'm Jerry Sight. I'm the interim parks superintendent. I've been with the parks department for 6 years. I actually started as a part-time groundskeeper and worked my way up to full-time, to irrigation technician, to crew leader, and now interim superintendent. To start off with February, with Snowmageddon, everybody's kind of nicknamed it. We used 572 parks man-hours, 256 inmate man-hours for a total of 828 man-hours combined used for cleanup. We actually built our own snowplow for our excavator. We had an old recycled blade from Public Works, and then we made our own angle on it to actually help with that, and it worked out awesome for cleaning our parking lots. We used the damp conditions also from Snowmageddon to help level out some of our fields where we had standing water. We made our own speed tools, and that snowplow for the excavator could actually also be used out there as well to help get it all levels to help with standing water when it rains. Our mowing crew is up and running full-time now on the rotation. On Harrison Avenue, we removed 2 trees that were being hard to see around for pulling out on Harrison and replaced them with bushes that will not grow as tall, so it won't block impeding traffic when you're trying to get out. We have our skate parks would not drain when we get heavy snowstorms and rainstorms. It was actually compromised. We were able to find the drain and connect and bring it out to the street to where now they drain on their own. Now they no longer have standing water after storms. We replaced a tube and a slide at both of our Centennial playgrounds due to vandalism. Well, we now have a metal tube that can't be broken as easy, so it can't be hurt in the future. We had security lights at Southside Ballpark that had been out. We actually found burnt wires inside them. We now have them all functional, and we also replaced the bulbs at Southside Ballpark for all the fields. Our water filtration basin project was started at Monsoon Park. We have the concrete work is now being in progress on there. We were able to get an irrigation isolation valve in there ahead of time because it went right through our main line where they were digging. So we were able to now isolate it, and it didn't affect the rest of the park. And we now have a good spot to tie into to connect when the project is finished to get everything back online in the lower section. 2 of our parks crew last minute dried off our tennis courts after a rainstorm we had, keeping a tournament from getting rescheduled. Our last minute thing, and we actually had a bus, kids that came in for the tournament out of state, or out of town area, were actually able to not reschedule any of that, so it worked out really good. We installed a camera and a television at the Centennial Park Community Center to help keep parents in kind of their own area to watch their kids so we didn't crowd that whole center there. It's pretty neat. They can all sit in there and, as parents together, and talk about the class without actually interrupting it. With our maintenance orders work in our schedule, we're able to set up now where employees can text when they see something at one of the parks. And the recreation staff actually helps bring it over to our spreadsheet for our daily work schedules. They're the ones that are out there and see the parks every square inch from every day, and it's working out awesome. When they see something that's just real easy and convenient, they can just do it right there from their phone, and then it's brought right over to our spreadsheet, and it's been working out really awesome at catching things and documenting everything. At Locomotive Park, we now have a new kiosk that's set up describing the train and the caboose and the story of how they got there. And we did new landscaping around that, and it's actually Route 66 inspired. We did some rock work with the Route 66 shield. It was pretty neat during the fun run. We saw people taking pictures with it. It came out really nice. The last two of the new fitness stations were completed at Centennial Park with all of matching curving. All the irrigation has been moved around them, so now they're not affected by them. The Parks Department also worked with a Boy Scout that has Eagle Scout accreditation. We worked with them to fabricate signposts and install them at various Kingdom parks, and there's enough room on there for 2 signs. All of them beginning no smoking signs, and then there's room for the second one could be various signs that, depending on what park they're at and what is needed. The splash pad opened as scheduled on May 1st and has a new permanent fence installed around it with locking gates. We also have a new topper that was installed on there today, and that's just kind of like our infield fences that are down at Southside, that orange topper, or yellow topper, excuse me. Our pools are on schedule to be open May 27th. We are currently doing the last of the preparation and maintenance for full operation. The Parks crew also helped out with audio for 2 events for the 32nd annual Fun Run. We did the audio for the drive-in movie that was held at Best Western, and we did set up audio equipment in front of the powerhouse and a Locomotive Park as well for the Kingman leg of the 66 Fun Run. The irrigation technicians installed a new pressure-reducing valve over this Kingman Park. We have old facilities there, and the water pressure is really high. We're having problems with the facilities being able to shut off their own flushometers. We discovered water pressure is pretty high, and that's helped out a lot. Arbor Day was very successful. We had a pretty good turnout for that. We had 6 new pecan trees that are installed at Firefighters Memorial Park. We also have our own first drive-in movie of the year at Southside Park with Bumblebee. Our large dog park at Lewis Kingdom Park was reseeded and closed for 4 weeks to help with germination. And the Parks Department utilized 1,051 hours of inlet layer, and we completed 164 maintenance repair orders. That is the extent of my report.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question that came up in our public about the material that was put into the new dog park.
Yes.
Below dog park. Is there a possibility that we could get costing of a decomposed, in most parks they have a mixture of sand and decomposed granite that goes to walkways, other things like that. If we just return to dirt, we're going to have a dust. We don't have anything but wind here in Kingman. So if we just return to dirt, we're going to have a dust problem. And the way the winds blow there, it's going to be a little bit of a problem for the neighborhood. So could we get a costing possibly? And concerned people in my neighborhood might be able to raise the money for the material to put in the dog park?
Yeah, we can look at a cost estimate on something like that. And like I said, we're still in the process of constructing that park and working on it. We still have a lot of work to do yet.
Everybody's excited about it. They want to get in there.
We still have a lot of work to do. That's why it's locked, so people don't get in there right now because there's still quite a bit of work to do. So.
Will we have water in there?
There's going to be a dog drinking fountain, yes.
Will there be water for trees if people want to donate trees?
Yes, we have drip irrigation available there.
No, add to with projects coming up. We have built the new wall for the soccer field lights on the north soccer field. We have that assembled, and we have the conduit connecting the pad that was installed last year. And we've started trenching to get the power lines in for the new place as well.
And I understand there's a park now in the new hospital area. They're building a park over there.
That's on the agenda. We'll be talking about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Forgive me, Mike. I'm wondering if, since everybody's waiting here, if it's possible to entertain a motion to reshuffle the agenda so we can get to the item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to when to move to the, well, let's do my report first, because it's a little bit about some of the stuff that we care about, too, I think. So, and mine's real brief, so I'll jump into that, and then I'll come and we'll go to that park.
Okay. Thank you.
Basically, what I have to report on is the Kingman Youth Soccer we're working with them again on the phase 2 of the multi-use field lighting, the fields that they use for their soccer games. Our crew is working hard to get ahead of it. The poles are going to be delivered early June, and we'll be working with Walker Electric and Unisource to get those put up. Obviously, Monsoon Park is another one I'm going to mention too. The infiltration basin, that is finished now, so that when we get a lot of rain in the water, that's going to help regenerate the water in our aquifer. We're capturing that water and getting it to go into the aquifer. So that project is finished now too. Another project we're anxiously awaiting is the White Cliffs Trail is another project we're working on, and we're waiting for approval from, right now it's in ADOT's hands, and they're a little bit slower to get the reports back to us, but it's looking like, I was told in an email, it's looking like we're even going to get possibly more grant funding than we thought we were going to get, so we're pretty anxious about that. And we're ready to go on it, but we can't start on it until we get that approval. So that's where we're at with that project, and like I said, we're anxiously awaiting it. And I just went out maybe 3 weeks ago, I think it was, and with the archaeologists. Part of the problem why it got delayed a little bit was there was a couple different things that led to it. State Parks replaced their director, which caused a little confusion in that department, and then also when the government shutdown was, the archaeologist was a federal employee, and he was going to come out and do the archaeological study at that time, and so it got delayed. But I went out with them and hiked the whole trail and flagged it, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful trail that will get you to the top of a bluff that overlooks the golf course and the Walpa Mountain. It's going to be a great addition, so we're anxious about that. And then obviously the dog park, we're working on that. And then the next meeting will be August 21st. And with that, I'll jump to the Sunbelt Park.
Thank you.
I would like to comment, though, that the one that's in Centennial Park is a beautiful park. Everybody comments about how much they enjoy that addition for the dogs.
Thank you. Okay, this is an update on where we're at kind of with the Sunbelt Park. We're working with J2 Engineering out of the Phoenix area. This is the location of the park. It's 24 acres total, and 4 acres of it is designated for a fire station in the future. The next 4 slides are conceptual drawings that we looked at, and there are reasons that we don't think these fit very well, and I'll go into those. Basically, the part of the problem we have is, like I said, the fire station has to be there, and we feel like the fire station should be on the west side of the property so that when fire trucks have to leave, they don't have to drive by the parking lot of the park where the kids will be and cars will be entering. So we're trying to get that on the west side of the, and that's after talking to the fire chief, the city engineer, and our city managers who kind of reviewed all this. And so these are the different concepts, and like I said, and there's another challenge to some of these concepts. Some of them have the restroom and snack bar out in the middle of the soccer fields. The restroom has to be, and the restroom for this and the water supply for the fire department have to be close to the street, close to airway, because of the elevation of the sewer line that's there. We can't have, there's not enough fall if we put that restroom out in the middle of the park. So in the plan that we've come close to, that we think is the best, is the restroom is fairly close to the street. And this is another one of the drawings with 3 soccer fields. And the last one that we're going to look at is the one that we feel is best, and it's got 4 full-size soccer fields. And so that's kind of why we think it's the best. And so we'll get to that. I just wanted to just show you these and explain to you why we don't feel like these will work for us. This one here, obviously the fire station is on the east side of the property. They would have to exit to go. And these are not full-size soccer fields either. And we're wanting to get full-size soccer fields that could be divided into smaller soccer fields for when the youth are there. But we would always then be able to host bigger tournaments and that with the 4 full-size soccer fields. And there's also 2 full-size fields at the school that if we can work with the schools and possibly even utilize their 2 fields for soccer tournaments. So we're really excited about this. Here are the next 2. The next 3 here are the closest to being what we feel are right, I think. And like I said, this is after talking to the J2 Design out of Phoenix. They're the ones who did these drawings for us. And we're working closely with our city engineer, who's very good with this stuff. Basically, here's one of them that's got only 3 soccer fields, and these aren't even full-size soccer fields. So, like I said, we're trying to have this park be very suitable for full-size soccer fields that can be then divided into youth soccer as well. And these are with the parking lot and the Concept 3, this is the one that we think is the best, like I said, because the restroom is close to the street, and that's important, so we have a restroom that will drain. The fire station is on the west side of the property, and this is with 4 full-size soccer fields, and the parking lot is along the street as well. So this is pretty much we think is the best for that reason. These are collegiate or Olympic-sized fields if we ever need them for an event like that. And basically right now we have in the neighborhood of $300,000 after the cost of the design that we have to use by the end of this calendar year. And so this project is going to be done in phases, obviously. The total cost of this project is in the neighborhood of $7 million. And so 360, 380 sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about building a park, it's not really a lot. So, but we're looking at least getting it started. What we think, we're going to have to look at what we can get done for the $300,000, just to get water there and maybe a parking lot and a playground and start there, and then and we're hoping that we can get contractors in the city that maybe will help us do some things too at a limited cost. So we're going to be looking at all options basically, but the cost estimates, when I say $7 million, that's a cost estimate from the architecture firm that builds parks all over. They built them in Phoenix, and those costs are driven up higher right now because the contractors are busy. When there's a poor economy, then those prices might come down a little even. So, but we're hopeful to get started on this and get the project going. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and we can open up to conversation and get some feedback from the people in the audience if you'd like.
Would you like to open up to the public first, and then we'll discuss after the fact? Okay. So open up for comment from the public, and then we'll discuss. Okay. Do we have a list of people to speak, or any particular order?
Yes. Any of the Bell team? Or the, right to the podium.
Hello. I'm Nicole Batley. I'm the past treasurer for the Kingman Youth Soccer League for the last 4 years. I'm here to represent the league and speak about the park and the complex and kind of our understanding of how things were going to go. All discussions leading up to the donation of that land and the need for a soccer complex to host future tournaments and bring economic impacts and soccer opportunities to northern Arizona, these discussions all took place with the previous landowner, Mr. Linhart, and his representatives in a meeting with members from our board. The Kingman Youth Soccer League was the main sports organization that was supporting and pushing for the donation of this land to the city. It was to be 20 acres for soccer complex and 4 acres for the fire station. This discussion happened between the city manager, the representatives from city council, and the developer. They never included any other sporting facilities to be located there on that parcel of land. The mayor at the time, Jen Miles, the vice mayor then, now the mayor, she also had conversations with the Youth Soccer League stating that her intentions were that land be strictly used for a soccer complex. The map that was provided to us by Sunbelt, as you can see, I have it here if you guys want, it strictly states 20-acre soccer complex and 4-acre fire station. I can give that to you guys. I also have a letter back when the Prop 413 was going on. The developer, they had created the Kingdom Bright Future. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. They provided a letter looking for our support to try to get soccer fields out there, so we backed them as a league. And in this letter, he stated that he announced to the city that he planned to donate 20 acres of land to the city for the park soccer complex. Also on here, he states that we envision a partnership between the KYSL and the city to develop that into usable, like to seek kind of our, feelings on how it should be laid out and such, which we have not heard from the city at all in regards to it until tonight, us coming here. And then he states, with that new 20-acre soccer complex, KYSL may even be able to host a regional and perhaps statewide tournaments in the near future, which we're not able to do that here currently because we do not have any soccer fields, zero. They're all multi-purpose. And then they just said, as, thank you, whatever. Also, back on November 3rd, in the Kingman Daily Miner, it says here, he has the land since 2007, 27 parcels of land. He hasn't sold a single parcel of land, and he has pledged to the City of Kingman manager to donate 20 acres of his most valuable land, which the city will develop into a soccer complex. In addition, he pledged 4 acres for a fire station, training facility, and satellite police substation. That's in the Miner. I actually reached out to Bill today, and my concern, seeing what came out in the paper today, in regards to wanting to put 4 baseball fields, basketball, volleyball, splash pad, playground, and a fire station. And Bill said he wasn't aware of that, what's going to happen. He was going to reach out and talk to some people. I also reached out to the Parks Department today to ask how many baseball fields do they currently have, how many basketball courts, how many splash pads, and how many soccer fields. They have 13 baseball, softball fields with lights, fully functioning. They have, I think, they said, let's see, where'd that go? 7, I think, basketball courts and 1 splash pad. And their response to the soccer fields was they have 9 soccer fields. We do not have 1 soccer field allocated towards soccer. I don't know if you guys go out there and run around on those fields. They're not good. Gopher holes, grass is long, and it's hard for the play and for us to get people to come here to want to play on our fields because they're not. 6 of those fields we paint on the baseball fields because there's not enough space. This last year we registered over 800 and some children, and that's a 3-month play. That's just for our rec season. We're running out of daylight. That's why we've now, last year we invested $22,000 of our money into those lights over there, and we generated, I don't even know how much in-kind donations between Unisource, Walker Electric, the parks were great, developing all that as well. This next project, we're set to, all in all, we're going to be donating $75,000 from the Kingman Youth Soccer League's money to put lights on those 3 fields, which again are not soccer fields. And that's been voiced to us. In all this time, this has never been put in the budget. Like none of this money for these lights for us has been put in a budget. We've had to go to the city council and we've had to ask them for additional funds. Out of that, that was about 23% that they have contributed financially, dollar-wise, purchasing those lights. And that's about $50,000. In the total budget, it looks like about $215,000 for both those lighting projects. So, and then also our field maintenance. So we go out as a league, we paint our own fields, and we pay this individual to paint those fields. Big Parks does not do that. All those goals are owned by Kingman Youth Soccer League. All the nets, every piece of equipment is owned by the league, not Parks. So I'm saying this to prove that us being there costs the city, they have to mow the lawn anyway, whether we're there or not. We pay to rent the fields. Over the last 4 years, we've paid, it looks like $12,292 to the Parks Department. And I have a breakdown of that. In one of the years, it looks like in 17, we actually paid more than what we typically do. I think they were going through like a transition with a new system, and we just kind of let that ride. We're like, they need the money, whatever, let's let that go. So we paid them about $4,000 in field rentals. And then our guy that we pay to maintain the fields, painting and stuff, we paid him over $12,000 in the last 4 years. So all that money comes out of our budget. Is what we'd like to see is a communication between the city and the Kingman Youth Soccer League, and that the city is wanting to build that and contribute and show the soccer community that we're important, to move that project forward and to work with us on it and not just behind us. So, any questions?
I've got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So with the designs that you saw up there, I guess are you wanting to only be a soccer complex and not have any other playgrounds or anything there?
We were anticipating that it's a soccer complex. You go to Bullhead and you go to their soccer complex, it's soccer,
Okay.
That's typically what the soccer, there might be a playground here or there, but when you see 13 baseball fields, and then you see there are 4 more, it's like, they're what? Why? My nephew read the newspaper, he's like, more baseball? Like, why? So it's just that kind of stuff. The city has tennis courts. They have, every other sport in this city has fields allocated for the purpose. We do not have one.
With that amount of area that we have donated, excluding the fire station area, I guess how many full-size fields, because the small fields doesn't make a lot of sense to me if we're going to want to...
Is what we submitted when this kind of all came to pass. We had submitted this, just a rough design, and we never heard anything back.
You keep saying baseball fields on this 20-acre parcel. I don't see that in any of the conceptuals. No baseball at all.
Well, I was going off what's in the paper. I couldn't see those. Those were so small.
Oh.
Yeah, they looked like there was
no baseball at all.
On any of them?
Okay. That's just a couple things. Turn my microphone on. We really work very closely with Bennett Bradley from Kingman Youth Soccer on a lot of this stuff, and with the lights, he's been very helpful, and we've worked closely with him on that. But what I wanted to say is all of our fields are multi-use fields. The softball fields, the baseball fields, they're all used for other things too. Soccer they're used for disc golf. They're used for all different events. Whatever event people want to have on our fields, they have on them. And the multi-purpose fields where the lighting are used for as phys ed classes all day long by the Kingman Academy. So but like I say, all of our facilities are multi-use. And at this facility, there might be people practicing baseball and softball at times on these fields when they're not used for soccer.
Well, I'm not saying that's not going to happen.
Right, that would happen. So.
But when you have all these other fields that are allocated towards that, and you don't have one soccer field and all here's the thing, we register more children than Flagstaff, we register more children than Bullhead, and we register more children than Havasu. All 3 of those cities have soccer parks. Okay? We don't have one.
If I might, Bullhead City, those are not only soccer fields, they're used for other things too. They're multi-use fields there as well, just so you know. I mean, they are used for soccer and they have goals set up.
Well, they can host tournaments.
They can, they have a lot of them. A good friend of mine is the one who donated the money for that whole project, so I'm very familiar with that soccer complex that they've put in. But they are multi-use fields, they're used for all different events there as well. So,
No, I understand.
My point is,
we can't host a tournament with what we have.
Currently. Okay.
Correct.
But you're looking at concept 3, which has
I don't see anything.
can we scroll that down so she can see the concept 3, which you said was the best concept?
It's going to be 4 full-size.
C3, correct?
Yeah, it's going to be 4 full-size soccer fields. That one right there. It's going to be 4 full-size soccer fields that would be able to be divided into other smaller fields when they use for the kids. And I mean, I think it's as good for soccer as you can get. And like I said, then the school has 2 full-size fields that we'd be able to use. So we would end up having 6 full-size soccer fields here. And the only other things we really have here is a small playground and a splash pad. And those are all future dreams too, obviously, but the splash pad would be nice for kids playing soccer to come over there and cool off. It's kind of how we felt about it. And we do have sand volleyball and basketball on the fire station property. And this fire station here is only on 2 acres, and they have 4 acres total, but our fire chief and city manager have decided that would be a good idea to have that there too, because our firefighters will utilize this property as well. So I'll step aside and...
No, that's fine. This is the first we're seeing this, and that's what I was saying.
Okay. Can I just jump in for 1 second? This is the first time everybody's seen. I got this from the engineering company that did this architectural drawing. I got it 2 days ago, I think. So this is all a work in progress, and that's why we're having this meeting today.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Any more questions for Mrs. Bradley?
No, full disclosure, I've been a soccer coach for over 18 years, so I understand where you're coming from. I've coached everything from rec to travel to junior college. I went through this process back where I came from in South Carolina, and we built a multi-soccer field complex before I left, and I was part of the whole inner workings of that. How many, is this just a rec league, or is KYSO travel as well?
We have, so since I started 4 years ago, I think the rec league we registered around 525.
Okay.
Just this last year we registered over, I think it was like 820 some kids. And that's for 3 months. It's about 3 months of play, right, Mike? 3 months?
Yeah.
Like August, September, October, I think.
And they've been playing more. They have travel leagues that play.
I'll get into that.
Yeah.
So
we work very closely with them. We really do. She's making it sound like we don't, but we work very hard and we try to make it happen we can.
And that's what I want to know, because travel is where the money's at. That's where the tournament's
not
at.
necessarily. Well, that's where the cost is when they come, yes.
It's where the cost is, but
What
that's where
drives
the city...
our league is the rec. Because the club teams, they have such expense and they go to all the other cities. We don't have them come here. Yes, if we have them coming here, that's where the money's at. But we don't have that.
Right.
So our driving force is our rec league. And so we had, when I first started, I think we had 2 or 3 club teams. We're now up to, I think, 10? 9 or 10?
What ages? U16? We do have U16?
U9 to U16.
Okay, how many U16 teams do we have? Just a girls team and a guys team, or do we have multiple and just one on each side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we also started a futsal program last year. And so with that, I think we registered last year 90 kids, and this year I think we're up over 100. And that just ended. So we're pretty much all year round now. So, and no, I didn't mean to sound like I was working closely with you on the lights. I'm just speaking to this project, not...
That's why we're here.
Not
Yeah.
How many kids do we have playing year-round, though? I understand we have...
Well, we have 800 for the rec, and then how many for club?
Over 100 kids this year, and I think that
But last year we had 5 teams group of five teams over.
So we got 10 teams total now? Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's where I say travel is where it's at. And I'm a big proponent of that because we ran through the same problem. Our rec league was huge, but until we started getting our rec players to play travel, you're going to have to pick closer tournaments so you can cut the cost down. But until you get them playing and get teams to actually come here, and I'm going to tell you, I know those fields aren't the greatest. I've already been over there and watched and walked and I've seen. But I played on a lot worse. And you just have to get that trade-off to start.
They're willing to come here. They want to. We just hosted a friendly, 2 months ago? A friendly club tournament. We had Cupertino, Prescott, Flagstaff, Bullhead. I think we had probably about 10 teams come right around there that day.
And see, that's great, but in the same breath, you can throw in a tournament, and you can get teams to come. Even over there, if you just do it cheap.
Hey, we have some open spots on the board. I just resigned.
If you just do it cheap, they'll come and play. Then what's going to happen is the city's going to see the economic value of that.
Well, they should see
that. So that when it comes to this, you'll have a little bit more. And you'll be able to move a little bit more. When I left, don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to get this out, because everybody's here is late. But whenever I left, they were building 4 new hotels in town. The reason being, we started holding the state tournament for the travel league.
Well, that's what we could do here. We're maxed out. That's where we're at. We're maxed out.
And we did it and our club was a whole lot bigger. We had 3 full-size fields and 4 half fields in our complex. So I mean,
this is the first step. Then is very complex. It will be multi-use, but dedicated for that.
Mostly soccer. If you look at that picture, I mean, I think I don't know what. If you have suggestions of what we should do other than that,
I can take it back to the board. Like I said, I'm just here on behalf of them speaking. And we could take it back and see what they say. But they did voice that they would like to be included in the community, kind of like with the lights and stuff.
That's why we have meetings like this. That's what this meeting is for. That's exactly what it's for. So,
but if you got 4 full-size fields of white close right there, there's no reason you can't put on a tournament. Because the football field can be cut into right. Yeah, no, the football field can be cut up into smalls. The outfield and the baseball field can be cut up into smalls, and you can host a really good sized tournament here.
That's what our goal is. So I mean, I think you know, and I totally appreciate what King Youth Soccer's done, and there's no question about that. And let me touch on a couple other quick things. We talk about softball and baseball. We have over 220 softball baseball teams with 4,000 people that play that as well. So I mean, it's not like we have to pay attention to everybody, and like I said, that's why I think this is a great addition to our soccer in our city. Long overdue. There's no question.
How long is it going to take for this to? I know this is just conception now. There's no ground broken or anything, but how long is it going to take to see this reality?
It depends on the funding that we can get. I mean, from council, obviously, it's going to be huge decisions to be made down the road. But right now, we have, like I said, we have $300,000 that has to be used by the end of this calendar year. So we just want to try to get the basic entry done and get it so people can then see it and then maybe get more fired up about it like we are and get people out there to see the property, basically. So, you know, like I said, $300,000 doesn't go very far, if you can imagine. It would be an entryway to the parking lot and a bathroom and a small playground, if that. So, I mean, in a real grassy area. But if we can get that there, people then can go out there and see all that vast property, and maybe we can get contractors to help level it and do some of the other work that needs to be done. So, like I said, this is the infant stages of this whole thing, really. So, and we haven't not included people on purpose. Anybody that wants to come and talk to me can come and talk to me, set up an appointment. Like I said, I've talked with Bennett Bradley many times about a lot of this. So, and I took the drawing that she shared with you and came up with this type of complex, basically. I mean, the 4 large soccer fields, that could be divided up into other smaller ones. So, we have to have a parking lot. We have to have a fire station there. You have to have restrooms. Like I said, there's not much there on that drawing other than soccer. So a trail around the outside. Something else that I could mention this too, we talked about the gym getting flooded at Wycliffe School. We think this project might end up helping that because we're going to be working on if you look at the original map, you can see where the water cuts across the corner of this property, which we're going to have to address. So I think there's a lot of really good, and the sooner we can get a vote on this and approve that this going forward is what we should be doing, the sooner we can start approaching. We have to show this to council then and say this is what we want to try to do. So I mean, I'm not sure what else the soccer association might want, but I mean I think it's pretty good. So,
any other members of the public that wish to speak? Signed up? Okay. Hello, my name is Sean Witt. I've been in Kingman for 14 years and been with the soccer program for about ever since it became Keisel and when it was Nazel. I recently joined the board as director of fields, and my question is regarding the multi-use portion of this. I don't see any other types of, when you say multi-use, is it going to be able, like, the football teams can come and rent a field to practice on and stuff like that, or is a park people can just go play, but I don't see any other types of sporting events there that are going to be taking place, right? Is that what you mean by multi-use?
Yeah, multi-use is that if somebody wants to come and rent that field and it's not being utilized for soccer, they could come and play football. They could come and have a family gathering out there if they wanted to. I mean, they could use it for any other sports. They could come practice baseball if soccer wasn't going on. And so, it's going to be multi-use. In other words, and all of our fields are that. Like I said, all of our baseball fields are that. All of our softball fields are multi-use. They're used for football. They're used for all different things. So, I mean, we just don't have for one thing, water is a precious commodity here. We can't afford to have large grass areas that aren't used for other things. So that's where we're at with it, kind of. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, to maintaining it, and this would be a huge help to make our other fields better. And that's something else I want to mention. While I say the lights are great, they make it more challenging because the more wear and tear you're putting on that turf, when they're playing at night, it's more wear and tear on that turf too. So, and we're doing our best. Jerry's doing a great job so far. We've got some new equipment, a spiker that Patrick mentioned earlier that we're going to be using on our ball fields, on our soccer fields. So we're doing a lot of things to try to upgrade the maintenance of our fields too. So it's not a one size fits all. Like I said, they'll all be multi-use. People might set up and practice baseball there, or might practice softball there, but they're not going to be ball diamonds cut into that. It's going to be grass.
Right. Some of the issues that we have with during the end of our rec season and into the club season is the length of the grass. When we're trying to practice with our travel teams, and the grass is 4 to 6 inches tall, and it's not conducive to quality soccer. So I was hearing the gentleman talk about the golf course and how the greens are nice and perfect, so the ball doesn't, and so we're having those issues with the parks, and that's the type of grass on these fields. Would it be more conducive to soccer than what we have at the other fields?
Well, the area that we're in, our elevation that we're at, we have cool season grasses, so it's very challenging. You couldn't have, like on the greens he's talking about, our bent grass greens, you couldn't have bent grass on your soccer fields. We have ryegrass, bluegrass, and we do try to cut it down during the season. And to address your concern about that, we got a brand new mower last year for our soccer fields that we've been mowing them with now. And then they have rollers on the back of them which help roll the turf out, try to make it smoother. And we do try to have a closer height to cut when you guys are in season. When you guys are in your season, we do cut the turf down. So, but you have to let it rest and grow sometime, or else it will never fill back in. I mean, you guys put a lot of soccer games on those fields. There's no question about it, and that's a great thing. It is. And do we need more fields? We definitely need more fields. And so we're looking at everything we can do to make those areas better. I want to make Monsoon Park better on the bottom, smoother, so that we can practice there. And possibly I talked with Bennett Bradley about this, possibly even have goals that we could leave out on the lower area of Monsoon Park, that we could leave them out there so people can practice all the time. You know, we've done a lot with Kingman Youth Soccer, and we're still in communication about all that. And I mean, just probably 3 weeks ago, I was in communication with Bennett about the goals on Monsoon Park and trying to get something there where we can make that more smooth and playable. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I have a question, Mike. Is the fire station part of is that coming out of the funding for the park? Are those tied together, or
no, that land was donated for a fire station, 4 acres for a fire station and 20 acres for a park.
And the fire station itself is...
And that'll be down the roadways too. There's no funding for any of that either. There's no funding for a lot of this right now, but we're hopeful that we can get people excited about it and get it done. So.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Joel Blickenstaff. I'm one of the coaches for the club soccer, and I heard about this meeting, and I really wanted to just fight for my kids. I got 4 kids. They all play soccer, and so they didn't have a coach, so I stepped up. I'm the coach, so let's do this. So my concern is the process of how long this is going to take, because my oldest is 10. So if this is going to take, is there any way that we can just create just whatever is necessary to get them playing? Whether it's with the budgets that we have, put a dirt parking lot, and something that we can just put all the money into the fields. That way we can expedite the process of getting this going. Because, like I said, like we were all saying about the conditions of the fields, it's just, it's hard to, we had Havasu come down for a scrimmage, and it's like you can't even pass on our field. They're just bouncing all over the place, and it's like ridiculous. And so, we go to Prescott for a tournament, and the fields are immaculate. If we were to have a tournament, in Kingman, just think of all the revenue that we could have come into the city. Whenever we go, we bring 100 kids, and all the families go. We eat restaurants and all that stuff. It's like huge. I think it would be great that we do this. And how can we make this process faster?
Money.
Because Bennett was saying about the lights. It took them 4 years to get the lights. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't have 4 years.
You have $7 million?
No, but that's where we're at. I have my kids, I have a couple players over there that, I fight for them too, so let's make this happen.
And I am too. We're trying to get as much support behind it as we can, and this is where we start from. The land was just donated 6 months ago, if that. So this is all just getting started, and it does take time. When I say there's $300,000 won't buy the irrigation for 4 soccer fields. It won't do, it just doesn't go very far. It doesn't, you have to pay for the water tap. There's just,
You can't grow grass on that ground.
No, you can't. There's a lot of work that has to be done before that can be grass.
And let's think about why we're doing this too. It's very important.
Yeah, there's no question.
Soccer is really fun. The kids love it. It's just good for them to be on.
My kids played soccer, and it's a great sport. I love it. I coach my kids in soccer, so there's we're all on the same team going forward trying to get this done. So,
right.
And I'm more excited about it than a lot of people are. I can tell you that. I think it's going to be a great addition to our city. And
I love that plan. I think it's important to have the little kids park and an area like that too.
And the sooner we get this a vote from this commission to say that's the plan we want to go with, the sooner I can take that to council and say this is what people want. And so, if we can vote on it tonight, that'd be great. If not, if you want to wait for your group to chime in and say they really like it, I don't see what you would want other than that. To be
you talk about the revenue. From what I understand, when Bullhead hosts a tournament, they bring in $1.2 million worth of revenue in one tournament. Think of that. That's going to pay for this.
That's a whole tournament. Yeah. There's no question.
So thank you for your comments, and we'll go around the horn here with the commission and see if anybody else has comments or questions, and before we entertain a motion.
One more comment up there.
Okay. We have one more.
Okay. This is a conversation versus a speech.
speech because I didn't plan this. So I'm Janine Thompson. I'm an RN here in town. From my understanding, the soccer fields were not going to be implemented, but from this information, you guys are going to vote on it. So I just want a couple quick points, and by the way, public speaking was a dread in college. So bear with me. I guess we got a test. Plus, as an RN, I worked a 24-hour shift and got 2 hours of sleep, so hopefully I can make this flow smooth. So as a nurse, I do want to implement, I do want to advocate for patient safety, Jesus. Player safety. Having multi-purpose fields, baseball in a certain portion, obviously on football they line up on the line and they excel off the line, you're going to have more tear up in the ground. So I do want to advocate for safe fields. It's our kids that are running down the field, rolling ankles, or blowing knees out when it's an uneven area. So that's just one quick point. Another thing as far as making it a good investment, FIFA is coming to USA, Canada, and Mexico. It is going to build, and it's going to have some... I know that my daughter firsthand today said, oh my God, Mommy Chloe's going to sign up for soccer this year. She's never played, and it's because I go all the time. It's going to get more popular. Kids that are going to go visit in Phoenix and watch Panama and Spain and whatever else. It's a global sport. People are going to come out. Americans can point out Tom Brady, but the rest of the world doesn't care who Tom Brady is. We know who David Beckham is. So it's going to get more popular. It is a good investment. I know it's a little premature because of the money component. So the last part, as far as good investment as well as medical component in it, is research is coming to us as nurses that by 2050, over 50% of the population will be diabetic and will be obese. That's our children that we are talking about. You want to talk about good investment and money, healthy lifestyle, involved in a fairly physical but not like helmet smashing together sport, so high cardio. I think the lifelong health benefits are there with it. So as much as it's a good investment, it indirectly affects Jesus, I need more sleep today. Basically, it affects other components of money in the town. So when you make your decision of whether this is an appropriate thing of full 4 fields, please keep that in mind. And with that, awesome, guys. I'll let you guys go. Sorry.
Thank you. Great job.
Should be a public speaker.
Okay. So we'll see, any commissioners have comments or input? Questions?
I guess I had one more question, not to extend this a great deal longer. With viewing the new artist rendition here, 4 full-size soccer fields seems like quite a bit, or would be appropriate for hosting tournaments. Is that from KYSL? Is that?
I'm not real good on that side. I do business. I'll let these guys speak to the field.
In the back? Did you have a
Walk this way.
My name's Jared Scouse, and I've been coaching in this town for about 15 years now. I also coach at the high school here. Generally, when we go to large tournaments, and some of you guys have been to these large tournaments, we take up 4 to 6 soccer fields. We don't have, like at the high school here, we have 1 field that's beat up by the end of the year. We don't have a secondary place to play. We don't have a place to practice. We practice on a beat up ball field. I have a couple of my players standing behind me here. So for tournament size, 4 would be great to start with. Then we can maybe also utilize some of the other grounds that we do have, which are not all conducive great for tournaments style play. But yes, 4 would be at least something to start with. As you look at Bullhead City and Lake Havasu also has their own. We play in Lake Havasu. We play a large tournament there every year where they bring in 12 high school teams minimal, and you're playing at least 4 to 8 games at least at one time all day. So these tournaments last 3 to 4 days, no problem, all the time. So yes, 4 fields would be a good start.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I've got a few questions. If we can maybe do like a speed fire round. But so when this land was donated to the city of Kingman, was it stipulated for soccer use as it was in this letter, or was?
I did not see that letter, but that was the talk. That we knew that's what we wanted it to be too. We wanted it to be soccer as well because we know that there's a need for it. So
I'm just wondering if the terms of, because usually when you donate land,
I did not see the terms of the agreement about that had to be used for soccer field. So if it's in writing somewhere, it's not something that I've seen.
Okay. I was just wondering on the legal side.
Our city attorney might have seen that, but I did not see it, so.
Okay. So we should be clear to go on that then. Obviously, the public engagement process seems like it didn't really happen until today. So is there an intention to kind of work into another public meeting for comments, or is this going to be it? And then
Well, I think there'll be more, obviously, opportunity to talk at the council meeting as well when we talk about this. So, but, this is what like I said, I got this drawing. As soon as we got the property, we started trying to get in contact with an engineering firm to do a drawing. That all takes time. I mean, so it's not like we've been sitting around doing nothing about it. We've been working on it too. So, like I said, I just got this the other day, and we did look at the preliminary drawings, the ones that we don't think are going to work, and for the reason I said, not enough soccer fields on them, some of them, and we're tied to the fact that the restrooms have to be out by the street because of the elevation, and we think the fire station should be along the west side where that angle property is anyways, because it gives us more area for a big soccer field. So I don't really see how that property could be much better for having soccer fields on it. Personally, I don't see any way to get more soccer fields on it than what we've got. So
in this initial location, there's 1,700 linear feet coming off of the airway. So there's about 500, 600 feet of land in there that's not being utilized in this plan. Is that for drainage in the future?
There's going to be some areas where we've got drainage issues going across that back corner, if you see that. Okay. So it's not all perfectly flat, usable space. So. Okay.
That's what I was wondering, if there's a potential to add 2 more fields to the north.
There's really not. I mean, it's, they've got the engineering firm knew that we wanted soccer fields. That's the main thing that we wanted, and those are the drawings they came up with, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
No, I'm actually very pleased to see they're adding the sand volleyball. I think, Kingman has no sand volleyball pits at all, and I think that's a good addition.
No water, too.
But the only additional comment I have, I know there's a demand for futsal also, maybe instead of the basketball courts, or maybe those are multi-use also, where they can be converted to futsal.
Those are all things we can obviously talk about, and we've had other talk about futsal areas too, and that there again, it's funding. Comes to funding, it's not inexpensive to build those either. Right.
So I guess the way it sounds like it worked, you were donated land. We have this plan, so it's not even in your capitals or funding.
No.
It's not. It wasn't even a thought.
No.
In the workshop. So.
No.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking for action from us, a recommendation potentially, or we want to...
If you feel like we're ready for that, and I think with their input, I think most of it's been pretty positive toward this.
Well, I'll entertain a motion. Anybody wants to bring one?
I would say move to recommend to the city council that the soccer complex, leaning more towards a 4 full field soccer complex, become a priority for future planning, and discuss from there.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So can we amend that to say 3C?
C3, yes.
Yeah, because that's the one that is most
C3, yes.
fitting to, right.
Amended motion for C3. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. So with that, we will go back. We'll circle back to.
Thank you all for coming, for sure.
Did you do that?
Sure. I can email a copy to you if you like. Or,
These are available on the...
They're available online too.
They're available on the city, yeah.
It's on the city's, it's in the agenda packet for this meeting, but I'd be happy to email it to you too.
Oh, no, just to send out.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for staying in.
Those are on there.
Yeah. So we'll move on to old business. Item A is playground at Firefighters Park.
The playground at Firefighters Park was scheduled to be beginning to be installed May 27th, but now it's going to be a week later. They just called me today, and there's been a couple different fluctuations, but the playground equipment has all been delivered. I think it's all been delivered, or most of it has. But they're going to come on the 3rd of June now to do the installation for that playground. And then I wanted to touch on the parks, open space trails and recreation plan. We had $50,000 budgeted for that, and the lowest bid came in at like $114,000. And so we're in the process of talking with our city attorney right now and see if we can accept the lowest bid, and then I think there's things that we can do with the plan that we have. If we even just take out some wording, some of the costs will go down for some of the things that we requested in our plan. We can just change the wording a little bit and get a lot of the same information. In other words, the survey that they do won't be done through a survey company. It will be done by them. And there's some stuff that our department will do in-house. And we've already got a good start of where the neighborhoods we know we need parks. I mean, it's not hard to figure that out. There's a lot of areas that have been annexed into the city over the years and don't have a park in their neighborhood or near their neighborhood. So obviously that's a good start. We got a lot of good information, I think, to get started, and so we're hopeful that we can work this out. And we budgeted more money for next year, so we can use the money from this year and next year and hopefully get this plan going. So that's kind of where we're at with that, but I just wanted to touch base with you on that. And we may end up in the future needing to get a committee together to do that work, but at this point we're not going to do that. But like I said, if we get it where we decide to go with this lowest bid, and then we'll take that to council and see where that goes. But that's kind of where we're at with that, and I just want to update you guys all on that. So I guess I'd be happy to answer any questions on those two, and then I'll do the golf course quick. I've got a little PowerPoint here to talk about that. If you guys want to talk about anything, ask me any questions about any of the other stuff so far. Okay. Then let me get on to this. I mean, you can see the thought across my forehead, can't you? This won't take me long either. I'm a fast talker too, so if I have to, you can slow me down a little bit.
No, I guess I only had one comment about that open space plan, and that was just, I guess, public engagement is clearly a...
Yeah, we will be doing that. Like I said, there'll be surveys that will go out, and there'll be meetings. There again, the more meetings, public meetings that you have, the more expensive the plan gets too. So there's all those things, and so, we may have had too many public meetings set for it, and they're going to have to look at that and say, well, if you do 2 public meetings instead of 4, we can... So, I think... we will have the public meetings, but like I said, this part that we were talking about happened fast. Yeah. And we haven't been sitting on our hands. We've been working on it. It all takes time, so. Sure. Anyway, let me go to the golf course report, unless you guys want to talk about any of that. But basically, it's been a very smooth transition. Since January 1, the city took the pro shop operation over, and it's in large part helped to the finance department, our HR department, our IT department. As we mentioned, we hired Greg, and really happy. I think we made a great decision. I think he's got a great history too. He's got a lot of years as a Class A PGA professional. He didn't talk about it, but he's worked 6 or 7 years with the PGA of America in writing for their magazine. And so he traveled and saw a lot of really cool places, and like I said, I just think I don't want to brag on him too much, but I think we're excited to have him, and he's doing a great job so far. We've also Haley Bradley, we had a couple of employees that came on with us from the previous manager. Haley Bradley is the assistant pro, she's with us, and she's done a great job so far, and these people did a great job filling in until we got Greg. But Denny Martin, Jacob Griffin, they're in the pro shop. Shelley Hall is in the restaurant. Ernie Dowerhide, and our park staff, I'll touch on that a little later, they've done a great job of filling in. Recreation staff have helped out run the golf course for the first couple of months. We had a recreation coordinator come over there and helped in the kitchen in the bar area for helping us out there, and she still is helping us out. So we talked earlier about the Mother's Day promo. We had 10 people participate and they didn't play golf by themselves either. So it's, all positives these things are, that people come out and see that you're doing it. The education appreciation, veterans appreciation, we've had over 100 people that have taken advantage of these things. And like I said, when they come out, they're not playing by themselves. So it's a good thing. We're going to try to do more of that. We advertise this on Facebook to the surrounding cities as well, and we'll do more of that. County league, city league starting off, the airport, we're excited about that, and the hospitals, another group that we would like to try to see about getting leagues. Anything we can do to get more traffic on the golf course is great. So Greg's working real hard at it. Congratulations to Haley Bradley. She's our assistant pro there. She was selected to go coach the girls golf teams representing the state of Arizona and go to Scotland and do that. So that's in July she's going to do that. So that's pretty exciting time for her. So we're really proud of her for that. I mentioned about team members stepping up. Ryan Furworth and Beth Matthews, they've helped out running the pro shop. They've helped out with the Facebook promotions. And Beth helped out, like I said, running the bar and restaurant, and she still is helping us out till we get staff hired. And it's a challenge getting enough staff hired, and Yvonne talked about it, and we're still, to get enough lifeguards to open the pool, all that it's a real challenge, and my hat goes off to them for trying to go through all that, because it's a lot of work. The golf course maintenance team did a great job of basically cleaning up, painting, redecorating the pro shop and grill area. He mentioned my logoed flag collection, and we have 60 logoed flags from around the world, basically, that my kids tell me it's the best collection of anybody has, but I don't know about that, but it's very good and it's exciting, and there's a lot of really cool golf courses that are represented there, and they all have a little story behind them to me, but they are really cool, and people that know golf come in and see those, and they're impressed by that, so it's kind of a cool thing. We've upgraded the ladies' restroom, and I've got a couple pictures in here later, but also we had a groundskeeper even on the golf course helping the pro shop. So, people in our whole division basically stepped up and helped out to make this a smooth transition, and it's really gone very, very well. Patrick Friend did a great job stepping up and helping us out until we got Greg in here. Patrick stepped up and did a lot in the pro shop and has done a lot still, and working with Greg, he's done a great job. So we're excited to have these guys. I guess you can tell I'm excited to have these guys, all of them over here. They're all awesome, and we're very lucky. They did a great job of reaching out to the tournament people that have tournaments at our facility, which bring more people to our community. This weekend is our big event. We have the Desert Shuffler Tournament. The golf course will be packed, and there's people from all over, basically all over the West. New Mexico, they come from California, they come from all different parts of the western states to play in this tournament. So we've had a good meeting with Mike Hopper, the president of the Kingman Men's Golf Association, and Roger Yuta did a great job. There's some new rules in golf this year, and he did a great job putting some information together for our customers to look at about the new rules of golf to help them get through that. In this process, we evaluated every position in all aspects of the operation, and we formulated very detailed job descriptions, and Greg's come on board with us and looked at those, and we continue to do that, make those better, and pricing guide for tournaments, and we're still looking at more and more of this stuff. And when Greg first started, I would say to him, okay, this is your third day. I'd bug him like that for how many days I did that. I don't know, quite a few. I still do it. But we have a great team, and we're working really great together, but there's a lot to do, and we're continuing to do that. So, like I said, we take input from the employees on everything, menu items, inventory needs. We listen to the staff that's there. They deal with the customers and see a lot of it. Here's a couple slides of kind of the flag collection, the logo flag collection. These are before and after pictures of what the wall looked like when we took the operation over and where we added the logo flags. And there are a lot of cool logo flags. Like we have one that was the first golf course that was offered the movie Caddyshack, and they turned them down. We have that flag from their club. So we just have a lot of really cool flags that have stories behind them. This is the wall between the pro shop and grill. It looked like before and after. The grill, where you come into the restaurant area, there it is. There's before and after. And it's just a nice touch, I think. The grill out to the patio, that's what it looks like now. This is the ladies' restroom where we've done some upgrades in there. This is what the sinks looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. And this was done by our staff in-house. The grounds maintenance people did this kind of work over the winter, did a great job. our pool technician did this vanity, fixed this up. He did a great job, took this in during the winter, he took it over to the pool area and worked on this. So, like I said, it's really kind of exciting to see everybody pitch in and step up and help out. So, it's just really good stuff, I think. And this was Haley Bradley's idea. We put these historic photos of the golf course all around the pro shop. And there's some really cool pictures. The one on the right is the old pro shop, and that now is the house that's up next to number 8 Green. And it's still, that building's still part of that house. And so it's just a lot of cool, Carrie Deering's house. So there's just a lot of cool history that we have these pictures. There's Andy Devine. He wasn't golfing at our golf course, but I'm sure he did. But this happens to be another golf course at the time. And these are pictures from our golf course when it was a dirt golf course. Here I said nice golf carts. Look at the vehicles they had out there playing golf. So just a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool old photos when it turned to grass, the early years. On the golf course, the work that they did this winter, Patrick made it sound like it wasn't much, but Snowmageddon, we lost one big tree, but lots of other limbs, hangers in the trees that we had to get cleaned up before we could get the course open. And there was a lot of those. I mean, it wasn't like, he made it sound like it wasn't much, but and then our parks, the same thing. Jerry did a great job. I mean, there was just limbs everywhere, hanger limbs. And we're still finding some on occasion, look up and see, wow, there's another hanger. Now that the leaves are on the trees, you can see the ones that don't have leaves on them. So we're still looking for them in our department. Jerry just posted on his worksheet the other day for his crew to be looking for hanger limbs. We're constantly looking at that. They level the teeth, like Patrick said. They did a great job on that. Cart path extensions. It's so important, and he touched on it, but when golfers get off of their cart, they're twisting their feet, and if they're out in the middle of there's 6 carts out right in front of the green, if they would just get onto the cart path, it's going to save the wear and tear on that area out in front of the green. So that's why we're trying to get those areas so that people will do that. And I touched on the greens verification starts this Sunday afternoon following the desert construction tournament, so the grounds maintenance guys will be out there working until well into the dark, trying to get the first 9 holes done so that we can open those in the morning and then work on the other 9 holes on Monday. So that's kind of how we've done it in the past, and it's what we're going to do. And these are a couple of things we're talking about doing, and too bad the soccer people all left. We're looking at putting foot golf on the course and disc golf, putting courts out on the golf course, and those games will only be able to be played in the afternoon, so they don't conflict with the golf. But these, and the disc golf, they'll be off to the side. The foot golf holes will be off to the side of the golf, not sitting out in the middle of the fairways and stuff. So, but a lot of golf courses are doing this to get more people out on the golf course, and they're going to come. They'll even, like disc golf, a lot of times when Patrick, where he was at before, he had a disc golf tournament. He said it was one of his biggest, maybe the biggest weekend he ever had of revenue-wise, because of the come out and play disc golf and take carts and eat a lot and also have some beverages. So, but anyway, in foot golf we're looking at too, like I said, what we would do is set the times of this. They wouldn't be during the busier hours when our golfers are out there in the mornings, but they would be more later in the afternoon. So we're really looking very seriously at doing this. So, and it's not like this is free either. This is costs us money to buy them stuff and put this all in and take care of it. But like I said, I'm very proud of the job these people have all done, and Yvonne, I mean, she's done a great job with the recreation and the pools, trying to get the staff there, and Sierra's done a great job of taking all this in. I mean, it's been creating a lot more work for her, taking all the pro shop stuff in, and we're constantly, everybody's doing more, so, but it's the nature of it, kind of how it goes. So everybody's stepping up and doing a great job. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick comment with regard to disc golf. We do have a really active local club, and they just donated $9,000 of equipment and then about 2 years of man hours up at Wallapai Mountain Park to complete an 18-hole course there. So may not cost you as much when it comes down to it if you can work out an agreement with them and let them kind of walk the course with you.
Well, we've already been doing that. One of our employees at the golf course is a very active disc golfer. Okay. And so he's been instrumental.
The floodgates.
I know. Yeah. He's been instrumental. And what we've talked about doing is bringing the portable ones out and trying the course out. So we're not going into it closed-minded. We're looking at everything about it, and we talked to other golf courses that have it. Mm-hmm. So we're not, like I said, we're not going into it blind, and I saw your course out there. I don't play disc golf, but, it looks interesting to me, but people that play it love it, so it is very active in that area.
Yeah.
Isn't there one at Fireman's Park?
Yes, there is.
They're still there?
It's there, and it gets a lot of use.
Always.
Always, so it's, like I said, I think it's it wouldn't be a free event at the golf course. It would cost a fee, and if you're going to take a card, it costs a little more, but it wouldn't be ridiculously high, because you're not doing this, taking divots and doing a lot of the same things that you are. The maintenance of the golf course for golfers, taking care of the greens is a lot more expensive than it would be for the disc golf that's off to the side and the foot golf that's off to the side. But anyway, we're looking very seriously at it, so I guess I would be happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions?
And I think
did
we cover everything?
We did. We circled back. We got everything. Any announcements by commission members?
Yes, I am going to have to tenure my resignation. I'm moving out of the area, so this will be my last meeting.
Well, okay. I'd like to say thank you very much. Obviously, you've been a valuable commission member, been on for quite a while and put up with a lot, and you have, and you've been very helpful, and we've done a lot with the tennis community, which you're a part of the tennis community. We've got a really good relationship with them, and we're trying to even make things better there. So we're constantly trying to do that and upgrade, and some of your suggestions, obviously, we've taken and gone with, and we're willing to listen and try to do more. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck to you in your future.
So I had kind of a question first with the public comments earlier with the wood chips at the dog park. I know that it's also kind of under construction. Is this something that would be worth a agenda item for the next meeting to discuss more, or is it something that's still under the process?
I think we could put it on the agenda, but it probably will be finished and open, I would say, before the next meeting, and we'll see how it goes. We've got a lot of work to do in there still. We've just basically dumped the material in there. We haven't really spread it out thin, and so there's, what I'm going to do is take my dogs there first and make sure my dogs can play there without hurting themselves. So we'll see how it goes, and we're going to work real hard to get any of the areas taken care of, and we're going to be compacting it, rolling it. We've got a lot of work to do in there still. So it's, like I said, it's in the infancy stages right now of where we're at with it. So, like I said, it's we'll see how it goes, and if we can't get it looking good enough, we'll look at replacing it or take all that out and put just dirt there. So we will do that. And Yvonne's got brochures for you. We should have given them to the soccer people too. But,
I'd like to see if we can get an item on the agenda for discussion and possible action for with regard to splash pad rules and rule enforcement. I've heard a lot of feedback from the public about kids kind of running around and running amok, and
we can do that, but the splash pad is basically an unsupervised area. So, and we can talk more about that, and I can fill you in on that too as well. But we could put something on the agenda for it. But
okay, just for discussion, so we can get a little more info and see if there's any possible action there.
That's why we put another reason why we put the fence around it too. We put a fence around the whole thing. It's got gates. We have to close it because if we don't close that off at night, it becomes a skate park, bike park. Yeah. I mean, it's just and people are responsible for their own kids there, and we're not seeing a lot of that. So we're not supposed to be discussing the comments, but so let's move on. Yeah. So I'll try not to discuss them. We'll put it on the agenda.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. Then anything else from the commission members? We are adjourned. No? Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, you can make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. You got it. All right, now we're good.
Now we're good.
Thank you all very much.
You guys.